Good morning from my kitchen table, February 8th, 2026. Today, I want to talk a little bit about navigating change, the war that we're in. A shout out to everyone who came to the Dead Dream Dump yesterday with me and Emily Trinkus. It was an absolutely beautiful ceremony, a letting go and releasing the longings, the dead dreams, the ways of being, the relationships, the crappy belief systems that have kept us in bondage, essentially. And it was just absolutely stunning and just so perfect for these times where everything is changing so rapidly and we're being asked to step into a new version of ourselves and to step into greater alignment, greater self inner authority, greater self knowing and knowledge and wisdom that is grounded in our lived and felt embodied experience, and that is not grounded in what we think we know about what's happening out there. And as we know, there is a lot happening out there. I want to talk today about some of the stuff that's happening out there, as I have been touching on. Now, I just want to share that everything that I do share here is apolitical. It is much more about the human experience and how we liberate from systems of injustice and deception and thievery and all of that. So, with all that's happened in the last week or 2 weeks, I think the timing of those 3 million documents was happened, I think, on the full moon, which is full moons, hello, shining the brightest light, lots of disclosure. And a lot of people in the alternative community have been talking about, and I don't even think that's the right word, the alternative community, alternative to what? But a lot of people that I'm in connection with have been talking about disclosures and disclosures coming and what's that going to mean and what's it going to look like. As we know, these documents that were released recently supposedly did not exist, and then they did exist, and then they did not exist, and now here they are. And I think what we're going to learn is a lot of horrific information about how an imbalance of power has been used against humanity in many, many, many different ways. This is not a left-right Dem Republican issue whatsoever. There's a massive amount of corruption happening, and it has to do with power, not ideology. And so we've been, talking about the Great Awakening that is, happening right now on planet Earth. And we've been talking about it in very spiritual terms, but in some ways, this is one of the ways potentially that many, many people are going to wake up to these power structures that have been extremely damaging and, in fact, catastrophic to humanity, to the earth, to morality, to community, to justice, to all of these things that good and right-minded and right-hearted people care about, regardless of your political orientation or any other orientation. I think that most people do care about other people. That's what I believe. And most people are good. But we have been lied to, and we have been led to believe that something outside of ourselves is going to save us, is going to protect us, is going to serve us and help us. And that's really not what has been happening, unfortunately. So is this, all of these documents, part of this Great Awakening? What I am doing and how I am navigating this is, and I'm going to talk about ways to navigate this more in depth, but is to really be in that place of compassionate curiosity and openness. I sense that a lot of stuff's going to come out, and much of it is going to be true, and some of it is going to be a deception to discredit what actually is true. One of the greatest things that's been happening in this time of Neptune and Pisces, which has just come to a close a little while ago, 2 weeks ago, is deception on top of deception on top of deception. And when we lose faith in being able to believe anything, it's really catastrophic to our sense of our ability to navigate the world when we don't believe anything is true. And I think we're going to be able to see this in real time in the coming weeks and months, that there's going to be a lot of deceptions. And unfortunately, in order to obfuscate and deflect, remember that the greatest magic trick in the world is about deflecting one's attention so that you don't see how the magic trick works. All of a sudden, you're looking over there and the sleight of hand is happening over here. That's what's going to be happening more and more and more. And so I don't want it to be this, but I imagine it's quite possible that the horrific things that we've been seeing coming out of Minnesota might continue in other places because they're so good at grabbing our attention and hijacking our nervous system. And that is part of this great war that is happening. So, so we've just had Neptune in Pisces, all this deception, and now we have Neptune moving into Aries. And what happened the last time Neptune moved into Aries? The United States entered a civil war. Well, you could say that we've been at war for quite a long time. I don't know when this war started. I can't even begin to speculate. Perhaps it's part of the human condition, but essentially, especially in the time of fast media, in the time of cell phones and 24-hour news cycles when you can access anything, the war that is already happening and has been happening for quite some time is a war for your attention. And with that attention is that war for your nervous system. If they can control, if the media, if the narrative, if the mythology under which we are operating can manipulate your nervous system, it can induce behavioral reactivity. Okay. And there is a war because that is currency. In the world of energy, your nervous system is currency. And so there's also a war going on right now for your humanity. There has been an incredible campaign to dehumanize all of us. And as soon as we are dehumanized, then we can kill each other, essentially. We can do things to one another that we would never do if we remembered our shared humanity. And so this dehumanization is part of the war. And at the base of all of this is, I think we are in a spiritual war. And what is, again, the highest currency is your soul, your sovereign, loving soul. And with that, at stake is this grand remembering of the divinity that lives within you and that lives within each one of us. No matter who we voted for, no matter what we believe, if we're marching in the streets or not, we have a shared common humanity that binds us together. And so, as ever, the oldest tactic in war is about dividing in order to conquer. And they've done a fantastic job, whoever they is, or I like what Charles Eisenstein is saying, is that it isn't they, even though there's these multinational global organizations that are completely nebulous with no oversight, with, run by people who are not elected, to whom we have no recourse. I'm looking at you, WHO, and many others. But this idea that we are actually living inside of this shared mythology, that is the they, this mythology that is dehumanizing, that is about dividing and conquering, that is about capturing your nervous system. There's this mythology about us versus them. And this is what absolutely, absolutely has to stop. God, I've been going on and on my soapbox this morning. Let's talk about how we navigate change. Well, one, we gather together as we did yesterday for the dead dream dump. We come together in sacred ceremony, in community. We vow to look past one another's political ideologies and see each other as human beings. Because at the end of the day, if we go to civil war, guess who's going to have your back? It's going to be your neighbor next door, across the street. It's going to be the people in proximity. We're going to have each other's backs because there is no savior coming to save us. There's no knight in shining armor. There's no cavalry. It is us. It is us coming to save us. It is you arriving to be your own savior, to be your own leader, hero, guide. So, how do we navigate this change, especially if we are facing disclosures that are going to be incredibly difficult for kind, loving, caring people to comprehend and to be with? That may not come to fruition. That may not be what happens. But how do we navigate this change? How do we unhook from these mechanisms that are designed to imprison your mind, your heart, your soul? They're designed not to liberate you. They're designed to do everything to keep you from liberation. Well, number one, reclaim your attention. Your energy flows where your attention goes. Reclaim your attention. Unhook, especially from mainstream media. And yes, that includes public television and radio. Find reputable, independent journalists that you can listen to and follow. Why? Because there is no financial stake in it for them. I've been getting some information from Sayer G, who is the founder of Green Med Info, because I trust him, period. He does not have a financial incentive, and he has an incentive to clear his name because he was labeled as one of the dirty dozens, the disinformation dozen, when all he was doing was sharing natural health news, which is supported by science. Remember, follow the science? Well, guess what? There's a ton of science that backs up everything that he talks about. And so he's clearing his name, and he's wanting people to wake up to the machinery in place that has been deceiving us, especially through the lens of health. So reclaim your attention, do your nervous system work, which you cannot do while you're hooked into the news cycle because it's so destabilizing. So make sure that if you're going to get your information, you titrate and you do it in ways that do not destabilize your nervous system. And if you need support with this, please reach out to me. This is something that I do with my clients, is do nervous system work. And of course, as I said, find those reputable independent sources. Question everything. Question everything. Look at everything from as many angles as you possibly can. Do not take things at face value. And learn to thrive in not knowing. I'm going to say that again. Learn to thrive in not knowing. How do we do that? It's great. It's a great question. One of the ways that we can do that is by doing our nervous system work, is by being in community, is by, for instance, joining me for my heart math class that's coming up on February 21st. It's a free class. Come. And we're going to do some heart math. I'm going to talk about some of the science, and I'm going to invite everyone to come into a longer journey with me, to be held in a container, to really ground into practices that will nourish your body, your nervous system, your energetics, and also build capacity to deal with uncertainty. So anyway, that's it for today. I'm wishing everyone so much love and compassion, and to stay open and be in that place of curiosity. Not everything is as it seems. And it's up to us to determine what is real and what is true and what is right for us. And to just be here in this process of unfoldment as unprecedented change, with this Aries 0 point Aries with Saturn and Neptune, which is coming on February 20th, we're entering into a period that has not existed on planet Earth for 6,000 plus years. We have no lived experience, and it's even questionable how much sort of inherited experience would be still available to us after that period of time. And it's probably never happened with Pluto in Aquarius and Uranus in Gemini. We're at a point that is deeply, deeply different than we've ever been before. And it's up to all of us to show up with integrity and care and love. So that's it for today. Mwah. Have a beautiful day. Thanks for listening and being on this journey.